Hi, welcome to Potato Blending. Okay, so today we are gonna run Blender 2.81 on low-end PC. Okay, as beginner, you might wanna run this version of Blender on your current PC, which I'm assuming to be Potato. Okay, so for that, you basically gonna need three things, which are storage of minimum 30 GB on your hard drive, a Linux OS compatible to your architecture with glibc version 2.17 or above. Okay, this video is also a proof that Linux works faster than Windows. And in this video, I'm gonna test 3 different Linux operating systems with different compatibilities. As you can see, I'm modeling this small weapon and I rendered out many things with Blender 2.81 in Linux, which I'll show you guys later. But before that, I'm gonna show you guys my system specs. As you can see, the system is 2 GB RAM with Intel PENTIUM processor 2nd generation with no integrated GPU, but still we are running Blender smoothly. Okay, now I'm gonna show you guys my system monitor. So CPU load is 50% with memory consumption of 700 MB. Okay, now I'll try to jump into the render tab and see the effect on system. Okay, so we are in render tab now. I'll add a lamp to see the object clearly, and now we'll see the system monitor. As you can see, the CPU consumption remains almost same while the memory consumption has increased by 100 MB. Okay, now I'll try running the same version of Blender in Windows. So we'll jump to the Windows and okay, we are in Windows now, in which you can see the system specs remain same. Now I'll try running Blender 2.81 with the same spec in Windows. Okay, so it pop-ups with an error of Open 3.3 or higher requirement. So what is a OpenGL? OpenGL is an API which requires GPU to function. But does it really? Actually, you can bypass this requirement by using a C graphic library called Mesa for Windows, but it won't work like we want it to. So now I'll just copy the library to the Blender install directory and then try running Blender 2.8. Okay, it's done. Now I'll try running Blender in Windows and it opened. But now let's see the task manager and which will tell us the system effect. Initially it consumed 94% of my CPU at the viewport tab, and as you can see, something is not right. If you can see, the 3D cursor is so much pixelated, and if I try moving in viewport tab, it will be very choppy. As you can see, I'm trying to move and it's very choppy, so it's hard to get something rendered out. Okay, now we'll jump to render tab, but it's gonna stuck. So next we'll be testing the Linux operating system, which is Ubuntu, then Zorin, then lubuntu. Okay, so first operating system will be Ubuntu 14.04, which is super light. So first operating system will be Ubuntu 14.04, which comes with glibc 2.19 and is lightweight and is highly compatible with 2 GB RAM users. Next is Zorin 15, which is come with glibc 2.28. It's heavyweight and it's highly compatible with 4 GB users. The last one is Lubuntu, which I will not recommend to anyone as it cannot run Blender. Okay. So our first operating system will be Ubuntu 14.04. As you can see, the system spec remains same with no integrated GPU, and I'll try running Blender. It was then when I firstly came to Linux. One thing good about Blender in Linux is it writes its requirement in its name. As you can see, glibc 2.17 is required and it's and it's written in its name. You can check your glibc version on your current operating system by jumping into the terminal, and all you have to do is to type ldd space dash dash version, which will pop up a statement where you can see the glibc version is written. Mine is 2.19, so it is enough to run blender 2.81. I'm gonna open my system monitor to show you guys the system load before executing blender. It's done, and as you can see, 50% of my CPU load and almost 500 MB of memory consumption, actually 600. Okay, now I'm trying running blender. For that I'll make it executable. In Zorin it's much easier to execute blender with because it comes with GUI. Okay, so we are running blender 2.81, and as you can see, even at the viewport tab it's running very smoothly. I will change the tab to the material and we'll see the effect. Okay, so we are at the material tab and it's moving real quick. Now we'll switch to render tab and we'll see the effect. Here it runs smoothly as well. Now I'll show you guys the system monitor. CPU load remains same, however the memory consumption elevated to 100 MB. Okay, next operating system is Zorin 15. Comes with lots of packages like GIMP and its complete GUI. But the reason I don't recommend it to 2GB users, because as you can see it almost consumes my whole RAM. Okay, but still we can run Blender 2.81 in this PC as well thanks to swap. Okay, now with the blender running it consumes 1.5 GB of my RAM, and when we switch to render tab it will still run smoothly, but the consumption will elevate even more, like 1.6 GB or something like that, which we don't want. So you can run Linux and Windows side by side using dual boot, and let me tell you, dual boot doesn't eat your RAM and it doesn't slow your PC or fry your CPU. Another good thing about Linux is you can just plug and play, like without installing or making changes to your system. There's an option which comes with it, ISO itself, try Ubuntu, where you can try without installing. Okay, so before jumping to Linux, you must check your CPU architecture. If you are in Windows, you can just open command prompt as admin and just type echo space percentage processor underscore architecture percentage and hit enter, which will pop up a statement which will write AMD 64 for 64-bit and i386 for 32-bit. Okay, so I started all this with Blender 2.79 in Windows, and literally you can't render out anything out of this machine in Windows. So about 3 months ago I moved to Linux and it works very fine. This is for those who are already in Linux and want to change your operating system. Okay, next I'm gonna show you guys my 3-month journey on Blender 2.81, especially on Linux. So this was the first render I came up with, the default cube. The second one came up with little error which I improved later, and next one was daily render. I pursued in cycles and even tried in EV, and also tried with different colors, which turned out to be good. And this is one of my recent projects, take on environment, which took me 30 minutes to render out, where the day scene took me 17 minutes to render out. This was made on Photoshop, but the mountain and trees were in this concept sword procedural texture of mine, and this is my recent project. Okay, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you find this video informative, and goodbye till next video.